Everyone knows his name, Casanova, the world's greatest lover. But few know he also made the greatest prison escape in history. He wasn't just a man who seduced hundreds of women, he was a strategist. Casanova used charm like a weapon, turning desire into influence and conversation into control. He talked his way into palaces, won the trust of nobles, priests, and spies, until his power threatened the wrong people. And when Venice finally tried to silence him, he did what no man had ever done. He escaped. A city of power, politics, and appearances. And Casanova was born on the outside of all of it. His parents were traveling performers, gone more often than present, leaving him to grow up in other people's homes. He didn't have money or status, but he had two gifts that stood out immediately: a sharp mind and a natural charm that made people drop their guard. As a teenager, he was sent to study with priests. For a while, it looked like he might enter the church until the scandals began. He was caught in compromising situations with young women, meetings that were secret, inappropriate, and impossible to explain. He took up gambling, winning more than he should on a student's allowance. He mocked the clergy, joked too boldly, broke rules the church expected him to obey without question. One incident might have been forgiven. But Casanova kept pushing, and the church finally made its decision. He had no vocation and no future among them. Expelled and on his own, Casanova discovered the instinct that would define his life. He understood people immediately, their desires, fears, and weaknesses. He wasn't rich, powerful, or noble, but he had a way of making others feel understood. And in a city like Venice, that was worth more than money. By his early 20s, he had already seduced several women, but what mattered more was who he impressed. Nobles, scholars, and influential families who invited him into rooms he was never meant to enter. People didn't just like Casanova. They trusted him. They confided in him. They wanted him around. And that ability, more than any affair, began lifting him into higher circles. But in Venice, a man who rises too fast attracts attention, and soon the wrong people began noticing him. Casanova's real power wasn't beauty. It was how quickly he understood people. He listened, he remembered. He noticed the things others ignored. A woman's insecurity, a spark of curiosity, a desire for excitement. He read it instantly and became the person she wished someone would finally see. That's why women fell for him. Not because he chased them, but because he made them feel alive, interesting, important. And every affair brought him somewhere new. A noblewoman opened the doors to aristocratic salons. An actress pulled him into the artistic world. A courtesan connected him to wealthy diplomats. Even a young nun, a scandal that spread across the city, quietly linked him to church circles. These relationships weren't accidents, they were networks. And soon, Casanova wasn't an outsider anymore. The elite invited him in. Inside those rooms, he discovered something even more powerful than seduction: influence. Men wanted his company. Women trusted him, priests debated him, politicians laughed at his stories. He gained favors, protection, and opportunities simply because people liked having him around. But that rise came with a price. Venice was a city obsessed with secrecy and control. An outsider climbing too fast made people nervous. Rumors spread that he read banned books, that he mocked the clergy, that he mixed with Freemasons, that he seduced women from families who didn't forgive easily. The Inquisition opened a file. They gathered names, whispers, accusations, slowly building a picture of Casanova as a danger to the city. And then, without warning, he was arrested. No trial, no explanation. Just one charge: crimes against public morality. The same charm that lifted him into Venice's most exclusive rooms was now the reason they decided he needed to disappear. And the prison they chose for him was a place no man had ever escaped. They didn't send him to an ordinary jail. They sent him to the Piombi, a set of prison cells buried deep inside the Doge's palace, the political heart of Venice. The Piombi were infamous. Tiny rooms directly beneath the lead roof of the palace. Prisoners had no air, no light, and no hope of escape. And for a century, no one had ever made it out. The Piombi were no ordinary cells because they trapped heat in summer and froze solid in winter. As the door slammed shut, Casanova began calculating as he memorized every guard step, every pause, and every rattle of keys. A turning point came when a Bible from another prisoner revealed a hidden iron tool in the spine. Father Balbi was loud enough to distract the guards while Casanova searched for weakness inside the cell. The walls were hopeless and the door was impossible, but the ceiling above his bed was old, dry, and flawed. So night after night he chipped at it while Balbi covered the noise with constant demands. He replaced the board each time, darkened the edges with soot. When the ceiling finally gave way, a black opening appeared above him, and he climbed into the attic. Casanova moved through the attic in total darkness. Dust, silence, rotting beams that groaned under his weight. One bad step, and he'd fall straight into the guards below. Following faint drafts of cold air, he found a trap door. If it didn't budge, everything was over. He pulled it open and saw a vast hall washed in moonlight. He dropped down and headed deeper into the palace, making his way to those empty offices and storage rooms. He found clothing. Casanova takes off his rags, slips into clean clothes. An ordinary man now stood where prisoners had been. And in the Doge's palace, an ordinary man didn't draw attention. He walked calmly past tired guards who barely glanced at him, crossed a courtyard, and stepped through a side door into the cold Venetian night. Just like that, he was outside a free man again. Casanova was the first man in history to escape the Piombi. Casanova left Venice the same morning he escaped, slipping across borders under new names, reappearing in foreign courts as if nothing had happened. His jailbreak humiliated the Inquisition and turned him into a legend almost overnight. Years later, in a quiet castle far from home, he wrote down the story of his life, not to boast, but to make sure the world remembered who he truly was. 12 volumes later, he had succeeded. Casanova didn't just escape a prison, he escaped being forgotten, and that is why his name still lives today.